Except what they did was they had a few people. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I hope that isn't a bad sign. We'll see.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Well, greetings, and this is Byrne, your friendly Anadromist, here on this lovely pandemic morning in Tbilisi, Georgia. And I thought I'd give you another viral update. It's only been about 4 or 5 days since I did my first viral thoughts video, but so much has changed since then that I thought, oh, I'd better do something now. First of all, the actual current cases count went from, I think it was 33 on Sunday. Today is Thursday. It's now 48 people, which, like I said, about 2.5 weeks ago, we had our first case. So it's multiplying. Then what else has happened? Well, I mentioned that restaurants were starting to, close a bit. Now it's official. All restaurants and cafes are closed, except for people doing delivery or takeout business. Lots of other stores have closed as well. Essentially, if your store isn't needed immediately, it's probably closed. What else? Flights coming in from other countries have been stopped. So there's nobody coming in from like Lot Airlines from Poland or any other place, except what they did was they had a few people. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I hope that isn't a bad sign. We'll see. I think it's a temperature sneeze. No, it's a sun sneeze. That's what it is. How you doing, Mego? Mego, how you doing? Yeah, okay. The cat is fine. This is one of my many wild feral cats around here, but this is the friendliest one. That's why I call him Megobari, which means friend in Georgian. Okay, what else? Flights. So the only one that has been allowed in is Georgian Airlines, and only to bring returning Georgians back. I have a good friend of mine, Vlad, who's trying to get out of the country to go be with his French wife, who works for the French consulate in the Comoros Islands. I don't know if he doesn't know if he can get out, so I'm going to call him later and find out, though. But what else have we got? The metro. I had to take the metro yesterday. The reason I had to take the metro, I wouldn't be taking it too much right now, but the reason I had to take it is because there was I've made a video about the difficulties of getting mail here in Georgia. See this video here. But what's happened is my service, it's called USA to Georgia, has shut down all of its lockers except for the main office. So you have to go there now. And I had some books and DVDs that came in yesterday, and I'm expecting one more shipment of, I think, clothing or something next week. So I had to travel about, 25 minutes on the metro. But interestingly enough, so I go down there. Now, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Normally, the metro is packed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with Georgians on their way back and forth to things. Almost, no, I wouldn't say empty, but, the people standing around, almost nobody there. Very interesting. So what my tactic is to get on the back of, or extreme back or front of the metro to walk in, keep my hands in my pocket, lean against the back, and don't touch a thing. Don't get close to anybody at all. Sometimes I'll sit if it's wide enough. But the Georgians, I've noticed, were still sitting like really, they wouldn't mind sitting right next to each other. Whereas for me, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, that's a little too close for me. But then again, I'm an American. So what else have we got? The buses, they put more buses on because they've stopped the marshrutkas. I'll put an image of a marshtrutka here. It's a little yellow minivan which takes people around, but they're so enclosed that you can't help but breathe everybody's air. So they've shut down the marshrutkas, the minivans, and put more buses online. I'm not so sure buses are a better option because, again, some of them can get quite full. But I haven't gotten on a bus recently, and I don't plan on getting on one unless I really have to. So metro, walking is a great thing. Walking keeps you in the open air. And being in the open air is a great way to handle this. Let's see. The Orthodox Church has essentially shut its services down till at least the end of the month, but I have the feeling it's going to be longer than that, and we'll see what happens when Easter or Pascha comes. The dollar. Whoa. The dollar went yesterday. It was at 279. 2 lari and 79 tetri to $1. That made me feel pretty good. This morning, 307. So strange. I don't know how this works, but I know that there was something in the government where they said, okay, we're doing this. Part of it is the economy here is going to take a huge hit. Let's see. By the way, I've had friends who were going to come over and visit. They've all canceled for one reason or another. It's just that what's happened in the last week here is that everything, it's like one friend was going to come over and we're going to work on some videos about Georgian music. Suddenly he's a stay-at-home father watching his 2 children who are home from school. It's that's how it works here. Let's see, what else? So there is a Georgian company now who's manufacturing surgical face masks, the basic level one, not the most comprehensive one, but that's good to know. I see a lot of people here wearing face masks. They don't need to. I don't think they're all sick. I think they're all trying to protect themselves, but they don't realize the basic gist of how to protect yourself. And how to protect yourself, if you can breathe it, it's going to get in. So, but the point is to stay away from close encounters with people. Put a lot of space between you. Air circulating. Go outdoors. That's a really safe thing to do. I would be filming this outdoors, except the reason I'm not back up in the mountain, which I was thinking of doing, is because the mountain's got snow on it. We had a rare snowfall here. It doesn't snow that often in Tbilisi. It snows in the mountains around us, but there's still slushy stuff in the mountains, and it would just be kind of yucky to walk through it. So I decided not to do that. But check this out. So I woke up the other morning, and this is what I saw here in Georgia. The first snow of the year, March 17th, and probably about the last. So, who knows, though? It was like 75 degrees or about 25 degrees last week. I have no idea. Just kind of crazy. But, let's see, what else is... Okay, those are some of the basic changes, and there's a lot of other things going on here. But I feel like the Georgians are handling this quite well so far. Now, I talked to a friend of mine in the who works in medicine, and she said, so they're working overtime in medicine. In fact, there was a thing, I didn't experience it myself, where, people were supposed to go out on their balconies last night and applaud at 9 p.m., the medical staff. I didn't hear that. Maybe I was watching a video or something, and I didn't know it was coming. If I had known it was coming, I would have been poking my head out for sure. But Georgians know adversity. I was talking with my friend Vlad about whether he can or can't get out of the country, but and he passed on to me like, for the Georgians, this isn't nearly what it's going to be for, say, the Americans. The Americans really don't know that kind of adversity. I mean, personally, yes, people have their trials and traumas, but as a country, even something like September 11th didn't affect everybody. I mean, it affected everyone as far as travel and worry, but I mean, it didn't do what's happened to the Georgians, and that is in the 90s and in the aughts. The Georgians were under, I mean, they had civil war on the streets, they had breakaway republics, they had political chaos, they had poverty, there was an earthquake, corruption, no electricity. Try dealing with that. All of that. So the Georgians, for them, this is kind of like, okay, we stay at home. And it's interesting when I talk to the Georgians about how they survived, periods with no electricity and such, and they would just hang out together. Now, of course, this one's a little different. This one is not about hanging out together, but about hanging out with people you kind of know and trust, which is interesting. And I think the Georgians are handling it well. That is to say, I have not seen, okay, so I went into the supermarket 2 days ago to pick up some more supplies. And there was still toilet paper on the shelves. Now, it had taken a bit of a hit, but you don't see the massive kind of hoard buying that you see in American videos, or Australian, or even France has been hit by these kinds of panic buying. One of the problems is that the Georgians have been assured by their government that the supplies will continue. And so far, the supplies seem to continue. So the Georgians are just taking it in their stride. There's a bit of, there are things missing from the shelves, but it's nothing that looks major by any degree. Now, this could all change as soon as, the cases multiply. The cases will multiply. I mean, we went from, it's been 2 weeks or so since we had our first case. We're up to 48 now with, I believe, 1,000 people under, stay-at-home regimen that, they can't leave. And about 50 or more of them, I think, are under, their absolute quarantine because they broke that stay-at-home command. So, it could get a lot stranger. But, of course, here's my personal response. I first heard about this virus, and everybody else did, near the end of 2019. Oh, there's this thing in China. In January, I started thinking about it. And I kept hearing more, and I said, yeah, this thing is going to get a little weird. I could already see it. One of the people I watch regularly on YouTube is this journalist named Tim Pool, who kind of goes over what's happening in the media and looks for the strange kind of, he does a lot of fact checking of what's happening and such like that. Well, he was saying some things, and he said, like, well, you should have food at home just in case. And I thought about that. At the beginning of February, I rented a friend's car and went out and spent a couple hundred lari, which isn't that much, $70, but you get a lot of money, bang for your buck here, on supplies. I bought things like rice and beans and such. But what I did is I never at one point bought so much stuff. I never looked like one of those American shoppers with like massive carts, certainly not full of toilet paper. I did buy, one, 24, 25 pack of toilet paper and bought a couple of other supplemental things. But part of that was I normally don't have a chance to use a car, so I said, I might as well buy some. But I thought about, it'd be nice to have some. But I wasn't even thinking so much about the virus yet as I was thinking about just needing a few backup supplies, because in Alaska, and this is one of the things, I think most Alaskans are probably not particularly worried about the virus, because they can stay at home, they can go out into the wilderness, they can, when I lived in Alaska, we were always ready, to get through the winter. You always had extra supplies. So, like when that whole Y2K scare came, nobody in Alaska was panicking. We all had about, 3 months of food on us. It's like, okay, great. If the electrical grid goes down or something, we're fine. Well, I did do some things like pick up some extra water. But of course, I know where the nearest spring is here, and I live on this on the side of this mountain here. And if I hike up about 20 minutes, I mean, it would be a lot of work, but I've got big containers. I could bring water down if for some rare chance the water went down. Now, this is Tbilisi, Georgia. The water occasionally gets shut off. The electricity occasionally gets weird. In fact, I got a video that I've been working on about that I'm going to put on my Georgian Crossroads channel. But I suggest, it's a little too late because everyone now is in panic mode. Because most people live in this what's called an optimism bias, where everything is going to work out. So don't worry about it. Worry is bad. Well, I don't believe in worrying, but that's not because I believe there's nothing to be afraid of. I believe in not worrying because that's not how you handle panic and trauma and all these things. You have to keep your wits about you. So what I did was I just slowly, every time I went to the stores here, I'd buy a couple extra cans, a little bit more noodles, there's a winter squash. That'll last for a month or so before I need to use it. Put that in a nice cool place. Thinking about these things, looking up, how long can I freeze butter for? Unfortunately, there aren't big freezers here. So it's like, I have limited space in my freezer. It's a small one. But basically, I started doing mental preparation back in late January. Then I started doing actual preparation in February, early February. So right now, I see easily 3 months worth of food sitting on my shelves. I've got enough tea to last a year. If I've got enough tea, and I've got honey and raw sugar, and I've got, the only part will be the milk and such, but, how long can you freeze milk? About a month. So, but, I've thought about all these things. Now, here's the interesting thing. So it's not going to get terrible here, but it will get inconvenient. And where you are, it might get really inconvenient, and it depends on how much this spreads. The worst thing you can do is be fearful, because fear does nothing. You cannot cope with anything by being fearful. You have to be mature, and maturity recognizes that things will happen. Things do go wrong. I started reading about viruses and what they can do back in the early 90s. So I'm not particularly, it's just like, okay. I'm very good at not touching things. It helps to be an American in this case. I can get down, and I still use I have a little bit of hand sanitizer. I had it way before this started. I have some American friends who've just moved to Tbilisi, and they looked at me and I said, "Would you like some?" And they said, "Yes, please." Because they recognized, this is going to be a situation here. And hand sanitizer is one of those things that's out. Of course, I, with my germophobic American mind, immediately said, "Where are the baby wipes?" Realizing all that other stuff was gone. So I got a little bit of extra of that just in case. I got enough cleansers and things like that. But again, it's not a question of worrying. Again, I'm in Georgia. People here are not given to worry. They've been through a lot of stuff. And even those who are a little more nervous are still less nervous than Americans get, because Americans have the optimism bias. Everything is always going to go right for Americans. So when things go wrong, they may not know what to do. They may start, you can see this through the hoarding and why did everyone buy toilet paper? This is absurd. You'd see people with these grocery carts with a year's worth of toilet paper. Well, this is not cholera. This is not, it's not going to be some sort of sitting on the toilet phenomenon, and you can use that for tissue, but paper towels are a little better maybe, but who knows? Anyway, that's where we are. Now, I have other thoughts that I'll probably share in another video, and that is, and I'll just mention them briefly here. This is a game changer. Everything is going to change as a result of this, globally. Some of it won't be good. Some of it will be very good. And I have thoughts on this. It is a tragedy. people are going to die before their time. It is, it's strange as, whatever happened to the Hong Kong protests, whatever happened to the yellow vests in France, whatever happened to, all these things are going to, it's like the teens have disappeared, and people still living in the teens are already looking really funny. Like the people who are all turning all of this into political hay are looking more and more silly as they do. And so I think I'll do a video about the ways in which this might be a game changer in the near future. But I wanted to give you an update from Tbilisi of what's happening here so you can compare it to what's happening in your own home. And the main thing is this. Don't worry. There's no point. Learn to be practical. Do research. You're at home. Talk to the people you're at home with. The people, if you know the virus is not in your community at all yet, and you have good friends and you know who they've been talking to, where they've been going, talk to them physically, face to face. And, this is going to be an enforced period like this. Who knows? We don't know how long this is going to last. It'll be different in each country. So don't worry. Go out there and live. Get in the fresh air. You need to get, if you can go, if you've got any woods or any forests or, lakes or mountains or desert, anything near you that's natural, go out there. It's absolutely safe out there. And you can also take your friends. You can keep a good distance. There's plenty of fresh air. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be stuck in houses that have no ventilation. You want air passing through. You want to live. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I could go on, but right now I'm just rambling. Okay, well, stay safe and stay sane. There's these firework logos where it says, fireworks, safe and sane approved. That's what we need to be, safe and sane. The insane part comes from panic and fear. Do not give in to that whatsoever. Do not ever give in to that. It's worse than the virus. It is a virus itself. It's like the movie, what was it? Pontypool, great Canadian movie about a virus that spreads through words. And that is propaganda. That is fear. Don't give in to those. Don't blame political leaders for the virus. Don't say, oh, you should have done this. You should have done that. Do what you should do and don't add to the panic. Don't spread things on social media to make, the opposite political party look bad. That just gives into the fear. That's so teens. Don't do it. Live in the 20s. The 20s is now. The teens is all that social media chaos and rage bait and cancel culture and all of that. Give that up. Give it up for Lent. Anyway, this is Byrne from Tbilisi, Georgia, saying, I'll see you very soon.
A people without history is not redeemed from time. For history is a pattern of timeless moments.